Good afternoon, and welcome to our Simon School update with Dean Yeltekin. My name is Josh Goldberg. I am a 2003 full-time MBA grad and joining you virtually today from Washington, D.C. I want to thank everybody for taking the time out of their day to join us for what should be a very interesting conversation. Also, I'd just like to remark on the diversity of the people who registered today. They're from over 20 states and Canada. No matter where you are, we're grateful you're spending some time with us today. I also want to express some sad news. We here at Simon, we celebrate diversity, and we're here from many different countries. And there was an earthquake, as many of you guys know, in Turkey. It's affected a lot of people, and our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Turkey. And if there are ways that you can help in this sad disaster, we encourage you to do so. I am a proud member of the Simon Alumni Board, and I'm really excited about the session today. And we are excited collectively about Dean Yeltekin's vision and plans for the school, as highlighted by our strategic plan, Simon 2025. And I know you're going to feel as excited as I did when I first heard about the strategic plan. There's a lot of possibilities, and we're really looking forward to your feedback and questions. So please utilize the Q&A box throughout the presentation. Questions will be addressed at the close of Dean Yeltekin's remarks. Sevin, let's get started.
Thank you very much, Josh. Great to share the space with you virtually this time, but everyone, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on whichever time zone that you are actually logging in from. And I am delighted to be able to give you a school update, especially about where we are with our strategic plan. For those of you who might be a little bit unfamiliar with the strategic plan, let me give you a very quick kind of one-pager. It's called Simon 2025. And of course, we expect it to continue on beyond the 2025. And we're trying to do an impact on both the academic and also the thought leadership fronts. We're innovating both in the educational space and as well as sort of business practices. And we want to be a place where a diverse group of learners come to actually get a very rigorous education. These strategic impact areas, the 4 pillars, as we sometimes call them, that you see on the right-hand side, are the culmination of many, many stakeholder conversations, as well as over 75 faculty, staff, members participating in our task forces to put it together. You will see a lot of the DNA of Simon being represented here as an intellectual and professional hub, continue to strengthen and continue to invest in that great intellectual hub, especially alumni. When I talk to alumni, I ask them, what is it about the school that you remember most fondly? What makes you come back to a webinar like this or any of our events? And what I repeatedly and loudly hear is that intellectual rigor, that give and take, the ability to be in a room with people who thought and debated ideas and challenged each other to think. That's the DNA of Simon, and I am very glad to be able to, put a spotlight on it and really turn it into an intellectual and professional hub, not just for our current students and for our current faculty and staff, but really broaden the reach. And with that, translating some of our research into areas in which that we can reach a general audience. And we'll continue to be an analytics driven school based on the sort of the analytics economics education that we deliver, but we certainly want to encourage all of our stakeholders, especially our alumni, to both come to get content that's intellectually interesting, as well as contribute to the debate as well, because your experiences and your knowledge is very important. We're a small school. We are a small school in terms of our size of our faculty and in terms of our student body as well. So we can't be everything to everyone, and we can't actually offer the variety of maybe experiences, classes, or activities that a much larger school can offer. But that doesn't mean that we can't actually, offer a much richer set of experiences, whether that's in the curricular domain or the co-curricular domain. And that's where agile growth and partnerships come from. And I'm going to give you some examples in a little bit, because we don't need to do everything in-house. We don't have to do everything from scratch. We're growing with new programs, and we're also growing with our partners. Historically, business schools tend to sort of sit a little bit far away from the rest of the university. The nice thing about Simon is very much in the center of the academic campus on the River campus. We're very close to also the medical center, and we can just walk over there in a few minutes. So it's a great opportunity for us to collaborate with our AS&E partners, with our Warner School of Education partners, as well as with the medical center as well. Innovation is key. And whether you're in a established company that's very big, whether you're in a small mom and pop shop, whether you're in a nonprofit like us, who's in the education domain, or you're a startup in the tech industry, without innovation, the future is not going to be yours. And we have to really invest in thinking about how do we think about innovation and entrepreneurial mindset. It doesn't mean that all of our learners become startup owners as soon as they leave Simon's halls, but it's that sort of mindset. And what do I mean by that? It really is I think a unique proposition at Simon, in that we give the very, very rigorous foundational grounding, so that any problem, whether it's a new problem or an old problem, we know how to approach those problems, how to take it, divide it into its components, and then tackle it with the analytical and other tools that we've given our students, and add value by using all of the sort of the skills that students have built both in and outside of the classroom. Innovation and entrepreneurship is an area that Simon, compared to some of our peers, have invested in, I would say, maybe in different patches, but hasn't really coalesced around one particular initiative, and new investments are needed in this area as well. So this is what we're trying to do, and I have some exciting updates about that. Opportunity and access is about giving everybody in the Simon community, current students, prospective students, our staff, our faculty, our alumni, and our partners across the domain, an ability to really get access to that Simon kind of rigorous education and that intellectual hub. If the only impediment between a very ambitious student or an ambitious staff member, an employee who wants to become a part of Simon, and the only impediment is about sort of the opportunities we provide, whether they be financial or other types of opportunities, we want to reduce those barriers as much as possible. So that goes into scholarships, as well as training and professional opportunities for our staff and employees, and being an intellectually rigorous place where people can learn and continue to better themselves. So those are the 4 pillars. And like I said, they are the culmination of a lot of discussions. And let me give you a little bit of an update on each one. On the intellectual and professional hub, we've been investing a lot in our intellectual capital. Last year, we hired 3 research faculty and 1 postdoc, and they span areas of expertise that are listed here, from corporate law to labor antitrust to health analytics and policy and regulation of data. So we're really excited to welcome them. We're in the middle of actually a hiring process for new faculty for fall 2023. That has not completed yet. We tend to complete that in sort of later in the spring, around March and April. So next time I give an update, hopefully we'll have some new faces to add to this. We also hired 3 new management communication faculty in 2022. This is an area that has become quite large in the Simon School, both in our MBA and MS programs. We deliver a lot of communication, both written and oral, as well as leadership training to our students. And this has really served our students well, especially as they transition onto their professional lives. So we have 3 new faculty, and we're continuing to recruit this year. Business and policy. If the last 2 years hasn't taught us anything, it's certainly that, lots of policy changes. They can be extremely disruptive. They can be really helpful, as well as very disruptive for businesses. And you don't even have to be in a very regulated industry like finance and healthcare to see the repercussions of that. Actually, Simon has a very long history and a very renowned history in participating in the debate on policy. We have a Bradley Center for Policy Research that had been a little bit sleepy, a little bit dormant over the last sort of decade or so. So we've now infused it with new funds and a new leadership. We have a steering committee of Simon faculty, economics faculty, and political science faculty. And that's where the postdoc has been hired to bolster our intellectual footprint there. And we have also an endowed lectureship, thanks to the generosity of Jerry Gittner, one of our alumni. And we have a website, so you can look up all of the activities associated with the business and policy, because I do think that we should both ready our students who leave Simon with an understanding of how policy affects the environment in which they operate, but also to contribute to that policy discussion, because regulation is going to be there, policy changes are going to be there, and what we want is smart regulation and smart policy, and that's where business leaders can really make an impact on, in addition to our academic research faculty. To be able to get the reach of this intellectual capital and all the activities that we're doing in this domain, we've started a Dean's Corner blog. Hopefully you've registered for it. We also do a Simon Quick Takes, which are these sort of half an hour webinars based off of usually the Dean's Corner blogs. And it's for a general audience. It's for us to both translate our research for a more general audience, but at the same time to chime in on any of the topical issues, whether that's about what's happening in the economy, in different sectors of the economy, what's happening geopolitically, as well as what's happening in the education domain. We've been doing a lot more peer and social media outreach, as well as national and international media. And we've also written some thought leadership cases on equity, diversity, and inclusion, with making a business case for equity, diversity, and inclusion. And we have those cases completed and distributed to our peers, alumni, and we will be hosting actually a consortium panel discussion later in the spring on these cases. Growth and partnerships, our second pillar. We launched an online MSBA. This is the Masters in Business Analytics programs for managers. This is a program that is online, that's been designed online. And this is where actually partnerships became very important too, because designing a degree program that is online is not the same thing as being on Zoom. You don't just sort of flip a camera onto the class. There are different pedagogies, engagement techniques, different tools, and different types of teaching styles involved. And all of our faculty who are teaching in this program went and took a specially designed course for our Warner School of Education. That's where the partnership came in very, very handy, because they have expertise in that field. It's going well. We even have one of our staff members taking this online business analytics for managers. The idea is to sort of really up the skills in terms of being a bilingual, technologically fluent managers who can direct data science teams, but also have the foundational business knowledge so that they can make the strategic decisions and add value to their organizations. We're also trying to move our MMM program. This is our medical management program into India. That's a new kind of domain and for us. We've redesigned our EMBA program and integrated it more with our part-time MBA program as well. We've also designed a new research program for our undergraduates. So instead of being very deeply academically oriented, like an honors thesis, it's meant to be a little bit more hands-on, a little bit more practical, so that the practice of business can come together with the theory of business. And again, thanks to a very generous donation from one of our alumni, Greg Haight. And we launched the Business and Information Systems track in the undergraduate business in partnership with the computer science department. Again, we don't have to, reinvent everything from scratch. This is where all of our relationships that we're building across the university are becoming very handy. To foster innovation in teaching, we have created Teaching Innovation Awards. We've just rolled out the first group and offering a technology-enabled teaching course to our faculty or any faculty who's actually interested. And we're getting a lot of traction here because the faculty are thinking and have been thinking actually during the pandemic about how to redesign their courses, how to integrate asynchronous content with synchronous content, how to get the engagement levels up, especially in a hybrid setting. So these have been really important discussions, tools, and peer-to-peer learning opportunities for our faculty and for our staff as well, who help us manage a lot of this classroom content. We've been collaborating with the Digital Health Lab and trying to put together a UR venture fund in the digital health space with our partners at URMC. We're also designing a certificate program with URMC so that we can give some basic business literacy and management knowledge and leadership knowledge to our hospital managers and medical staff as well. So these are going to be great opportunities. You'll hear more about them as we launch them and deliver them. All of this takes an enormous amount of work in the background, whether we're recruiting students from corporations, whether we're sending students to corporations, whether we're sourcing projects from corporations and our industry partners. And we have now realized that being able to do that at scale requires a better infrastructure and some more scaffolding. We do this very effectively in different parts of our school, for example, the Career Center, Bennett Career Center, but we wanted to coalesce it under one umbrella so that there's a sort of a one-stop shop, both for our industry partners as well as our faculty and students. So now we have a new corporate engagement initiatives. We will be announcing shortly about a new unit in our programs in Simon School that will sit and cut across all of the different kind of everywhere from student engagement to experiential learning to alumni relations and to, of course, admissions and career management center. So stay tuned for more details on that. That will be announced in the next week or two. Innovation and entrepreneurial mindset. Well, we have a new experiential learning structure. Again, the idea is to try to turn these into plug and play so that the students know how to navigate this landscape, so that our corporate partners or project partners know how to navigate this landscape, and we can source projects, opportunities, internships, externships much more seamlessly. And then we have a repeated engagement relationship with our partners outside of the university. So we're not doing everything from scratch, year after year. So we have a project sell sheet. We have a website for this. You can actually go and see that project sell sheet tells you exactly what's required of anybody who wants to engage in a project work with our students and what are the benefits that you will receive. And it will also be triage if you send in a certain kind of request. I want to do project on X and I would like to have a group of students take a look at this. We actually triage it and send it to the right faculty and staff member to get into a deeper conversation with you to see if that this is a mutually agreeable engagement that we can do together. And we have a website for that as well. So our website developers have been very, very busy. And on the entrepreneurship front, we received a very, very generous professorship. Robert Sperandio professorship, his family donated this professorship in entrepreneurship. We're now getting ready to actually recruit for this position. We're very excited because we're integrating a lot of our work that we do in the entrepreneurship front with the AIN Center, and we want to certainly bolster our efforts here. We've changed our minor, expanded course selection, as well as expanded activities. And we now have a task force of both faculty and staff to bolster the programming in our entrepreneurship area. So again, stay tuned with lots of great activities coming over here. Opportunity and access. And again, as I said, it's very important that we continue to be, especially in a domain where we are, higher education prices are, as you know, are not small. It's a big investment. It's a great investment, but also a big investment. And we want to make sure that if there's a financial impediment to any of our prospective students, that financial impediment is reduced as much as possible. And thanks to a generosity for a lot of our alumni and who contribute to the GEC scholarship, as well as our Evans Lamb Endowed Scholarship Challenge that our alumni and board member Evans Lamb has launched. We're getting really great matching possibility there. We now have the Simon Women Alliance scholarship funding. It funds 3 students, I think, at the moment, which is great. And we just established the very first consortium scholarship as well, endowed consortium scholarship. And we will continue to add on. Just to give you an idea, we give, about $10 million in scholarships every year, and only a very small portion of that comes from gifts and endowment. The rest of it is actually financed by the Simon School's operating budget. So we would love to be able to gain more traction there as well. And we have a great new data analytics platform called 1220 that our students are using for our two-way engagement with our corporate partners, and that they can also help them navigate the job market. We're continuing to offer online courses for our alumni. Maybe some of you have participated in these in the past semesters. And we are pushing through and about to publish our second update of our Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Action Plan, which one of the top goals is maintaining our student diversity. We've been ranked number 1 in 2021 and then number 2 in 2022 for our diversity ranking by US News. And we've also substantially increased the training for our faculty, staff, students, clubs, and organizations on how to create an inclusive and respectful environment, and how to have also difficult conversation. And we're an educational institution. We want to also be able to certainly entertain and discuss different points of view in a manner that's productive. And we've updated our recruiting processes, both for our staff and our faculty, to make sure that we're reaching a wider pool, as well as that we're employing best practices in being able to sort of screen the applicants and give opportunities. So that's on the opportunity and access. I know that every time I get in front of our alumni, they're very interested in learning about what the rankings have been. And if just a word about, before we get to the numbers on the rankings, all of the 4 different pillars and all of the areas that you have seen there are very well aligned with the rankings. Know that the previous Simon strategic plan put a big spotlight on rankings. Everything we're doing in this strategic plan, everything we're implementing, are also aligned with maintaining and going up in the rankings. Some of the rankings have more hard data than the others. Some of them are a little bit of a popularity contest, but everything we're doing are also aligned with being able to especially move the needle in certain areas such as career, employment, diversity. So where are we? Simon ranked 27 in Bloomberg Business Week, down 2 spots from 25 last year. The good news is that the 25 wasn't a fluke. We continue to be, in that range. We moved up 10 spots in learning and are in the top 10 on diversity. We're number 1 in terms of the top 50 schools, but number 9 in terms of all of the business schools. And networking and entrepreneurship are 2 areas that we realize that we see a lot of variance in. Some years we rank well on those, some years we don't. And this is an alumni as well as a newly graduated students ranking that we get. And we've been focusing our attention. And what you saw in those pillars in terms of the entrepreneurship, corporate engagement, experiential learning, all of those are also designed to hit these marks as well. Poets and Quants, Simon ranked number 30 in top US schools, moving up 7 spots from last year. And Fortune MBA, Simon ranked number 22, where the 65% of the ranking is based on an outcome score, which is mostly starting salaries and median starting salaries. And then we also have, they have a different scores looking at C levels from school in Fortune 1000. So The rankings news are great. We also have, of course, our undergraduate and MS Finance being ranked. MS Finance, we ranked number 2. We did not have enough alumni survey respondents to be included in the 2021 ranking. That's another question I usually get from our alumni. How can we help? Please respond to the ranking surveys. I know that filling out surveys is not necessarily the most favorite pastime of anybody when we get bombarded by surveys, but there are a few surveys like the Bloomberg, the Financial Times, the MS Finance rankings that are really, really important for us. If we don't get enough participation, we do not get ranked. So we want to make sure that we clear the bar, and we want to hear from our alumni, and we want to hear from our partners and recruiting partners. Undergraduate is hovering around sort of mid-30s. This is the second time that we have been ranked. And finance group in the business finance undergraduate has moved up 11 spots. So that's great, because that's one of the strengths of the Simon School. What we would like to do is, of course, continue to expand our kind of reputation and reach with respect to the undergraduate business program. We are now one of the 2 largest majors on campus. We just graduated 225 out of roughly 1,500 students last year. We also have a lot of double majors. So we really want to make sure that this undergraduate business certainly gets the attention it deserves. So how can you help? That's a question we get, and it was also a question that was put into actually some of the early questions in the registration. Just help support our future. Engage, inspire, enhance, and connect. Coming to webinars like this, coming to any of the events we have in different regions, going and actually connecting with our Bennett Career Management Center to be a professional, as a professional who's volunteering. Opening doors. There are a multitude of ways, whether you have 15 minutes a month, whether you have 1.5 hours a month or 1.5 hours a day. There are a multitude of ways that you can help connect, from mentorship to answering some questions or even making some introductions. We would love to have you engage. We have volunteer opportunities in the Career Center. We have volunteer opportunities also in terms of the curricular. We would welcome you to our classrooms as experts in your field. If you want to sponsor a student project, that would be great. And the website that I've mentioned before can direct you to the right person and the easiest way that you can do this. And just generally engage with our alumni network. It doesn't have to always be arranged by us. If you have new alumni coming into the region that you're in, the city that you're in, or even the company that you're in, having a cup of coffee with them, new alumni, as they embark on their kind of the second phase of their professional post-MBA, post-MS professional career, that would be great as well. We will continue to be visiting somewhere near you, hopefully. We had some rollout events in Boston, New York City, DC, Rochester, our backyard, San Francisco, and we're coming to Los Angeles on March 2nd. So we would love you to come to one of our events and continue to be engaged with our students, with your fellow peer alumni, as well as with the intellectual hub that we're trying to portray here. Just quickly, the upcoming events, you will receive, of course, correspondence about those. But we have some opening doors that are happening in different areas: marketing, finance, and consulting. Our senior associate dean and longtime faculty member, Jim Brickley, and I are doing a webinar on crypto markets, corporate governance, and FTX. That should be fun. Cliff Smith, and he needs no introduction. He will be doing his annual top 10 concerns for this year. And that's on February 28th. And we have some more Simon quick takes. And those of you in the New York City area or who can come to New York City, we have revitalized our New York City Forum, and that will be on March 30th. And I want to alert you to the day of giving on the 19th of April, which is that single day that we try to get as much sort of support for the variety of programming we're doing at Simon. lots of ways to stay connected. We have now a larger footprint on social media, Instagram. There's the Simon Business School one. There's Sevin at Simon, which is my own one that I use for our school news. I have to say that I'm not as well versed in it as some of the other students and some of our Simon Business School marketing people. I'm still learning. I use my teenagers to learn how to use Instagram effectively. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on LinkedIn a lot. And there is also networking groups on Twitter. We have a YouTube channel where you can get recordings from our webinars and other speeches and so on and so forth, that you can go ahead and watch them if you weren't able to participate. And we have the Dean's Corner blog that if you actually sign up for it, it will alert you when a new post goes up, which is roughly about every 2 weeks. So thank you. I'll stop there and go to Q&A. I know that was a lot of information, but lots of exciting, good things are happening here.
Yeah, definitely. I've been experienced the benefits of some of these new rollouts. I love the Dean's Corner and Simon Quick Takes, and a lot of the other emphasis that you discussed today. One might take a look at the strategic plan in its totality, and wonder whether or not all of those activities will ultimately affect the rankings, or is the rankings an objective in and of itself? How do you think about that?
So the rankings, I think of it as not a sole singular objective, but it's definitely, as long as what the rankings are measuring are aligned with where we want the school to move, whether that's career placements of our students, whether that's the learning, that's the opportunities we provide inside, whether that's the academic rigor of our programs. So those aspects of it are always part of what we are aiming to continue to foster at Simon. So as far as those are aligned, but what we're not doing is chasing the rankings. In other words, we're not trying to sort of micro-engineer, one more placement here with another $10,000 on bonus, and that's the job you should choose because that will help us, get even further, nudge ourselves up in the rankings. We want this to be a learning and development opportunity for our students, and we want to do the best for our students, rankings or not. Rankings are fraught. Sometimes, it's a little bit of a love and hate relationship. What can I say? I think every business school dean would agree. On the one hand, it's a great validation of the great opportunities we provide at the school. On the other hand, each ranking has its flaws, and we should sort of take them with a bit of a grain of salt. Okay,
excellent. In some of my early jobs, I had the benefit of working with large populations of Asian students. And I know that that's a strategic point for Simon. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sorry, I didn't hear your a group of, just the last sentence, if you could repeat it.
Of Asian students.
Yeah, we have a very large group of students who come from in our MS programs. The single dominant country is certainly China. In our MBA program, if I look at the international students, we have India is the bigger single country group there. It's great to have very, ambitious, very, very good students coming from all over the world. We have actually 23 countries represented in our MBA program and over 20 countries represented in our MS programs. And the idea is to bring the most talented, ambitious folks who are really great at, furthering their employment as well as their educational opportunities. And it certainly makes for a very dynamic and a great kind of environment within the school. But at the same time, we're completely aware of, all of the geopolitical issues, whether it had to do with COVID and embassies closed, airlines being sort of backed up. or to do with what we're seeing sort of geopolitically now. And, we don't have a huge control over the visa process, of course. We don't have control over the sponsoring. But what we do is try to be very upfront about the opportunities we have for our students, and we try to support them and integrate them into our Simon family and continue to support them after they leave the Simon school. And, it's part of our sort of part and parcel of fostering a very diverse, geographically diverse, as well as, racially and ethnically diverse school.
Mm-hmm. There was, it's a comment, maybe more than a question per se, but, I know the CMC works very hard to place Simon students. Alumni, also want to see, placement of alumni students, and, occasionally we provide leads. And I think that there was the nature of the comment was, looking for a little bit more transparency in terms of when we provide leads of that we can hire, were these good leads if we don't see that they're acted upon, or because we're trying to source jobs for the school, so we don't always get that feedback on where the job posting we sent to the CMC went.
Yes, I mean, I think this is where really this is part of the two-way engagement. We get incredibly useful information and opportunities from our alumni about kind of the skill sets that we should be imparting on our students, as well as, of course, opportunities for recruiting. And at the same time, we get, we need to provide that particular feedback to our alumni too. Where is it posted? Our students, showing interest, why or why not, so that we can actually help you achieve your goals as well. Because this needs to be a two-way partnership, right?
That's right.
Not just sort of.
Right.
So I take that, I saw that comment on the Q&A. I take that very seriously. Part of the reason why we've done two things, and they're still in their somewhat infancy, I should say. One of them is this platform that I talked about, which is called 1220, where it's really both managing the information that's coming in from our students. It's a place for us to get information from our students. Who do they interview with? What do they look at? What kind of offers have they received? What kind of skill sets were there? The sort of the companies were looking for. And as we coalesce all of that information in a way that is both searchable and usable, then we can actually give some feedback around. Instead of chasing each student down, we now have a platform where we can give that kind of feedback to the companies and say, this is what the students are interested, or this is what was sort of, they found difficult or lacking. And at the same time, we can do the same with the companies coming in and say, okay, where do we need to work on? What do we need to work on that you're looking for in terms of the skill sets, or maybe even just sort of how our students interview when you do give them that opportunity. So we're really excited about this 1220 program. It has a lot of great, Latanya Jones, who came with the knowledge of this program. She's now implemented it in the Bennett Career Management Center. We just saw a demo of it. We're really excited, and we should be able to use that very extensively. And the corporate engagement piece is the other one. I hear you when you say you sort of sent a message or tried to contact somebody and you didn't really necessarily either get a response or didn't get a response in time. That's because that sort of infrastructure for a one-stop point of contact and triaging wasn't there. And that's exactly what we're trying to build. That's what we're trying to build with the projects, as well as trying to build with the corporate engagement. You shouldn't have to chase anybody around, okay? And information shouldn't flow in this ad hoc fashion. Information should flow in a streamlined triage way to give you the most effective response and for us to effectively engage with you.
Yeah, got it. I mean, we'll keep the job leads coming, and we reach out because we think of Simon as a source of talent,
and we are very appreciative. And if we're not doing a good job on following up on those leads, let us know. We will continue to, in the spirit of Meliora, make this a more streamlined, more transparent, and really a more valuable proposition for all parties involved.
Great. So there's a specific question on the employment and placement data analytics platform.
Mm-hmm.
And in particular, the question is about use cases and how might this help improve strategies around placement. For example, international students who require sponsorship, would the platform provide insights on where they're most likely to get a good placement?
Yes, so the platform is incredibly, so we can get some aggregate data about the companies and about the job market and different industries, because it actually pulls together a lot of employment statistics from not just our business school, but other business schools and other industry data as well. But we get also very specific information, obviously anonymized, about our Simon history as well. Where are our students going? What kind of salary range? What kind of positions? How should students position themselves? And how should they think about? We even have a little sort of, depository of kind of questions and skill sets that the companies are looking for that our students should be thoughtful about and going into the interview. Who's sponsoring? That's the international student side. Who's not able to sponsor? Because if you're a federal agency, for example, you can't really easily hire a foreign student, but private companies can, especially private companies of a certain size. So all of that information is both a strategic tool for the students and also a strategic tool for our Bennett career management staff and advisors to chart our path and to see where we fall in the landscape of MBA and MS hiring.
Great. Comment on here, a fan of the MGC, just to let you know. Another comment maybe to explore Miami as a potential technology hub.
It is 10 degrees here, so if you're inviting me to Miami, I am definitely coming. No questions, no. Just joking aside, absolutely. So fintech is an area that we now have classes both in the undergraduate and the graduate domain, and we also actually cover fintech in a variety of different classes, especially in the finance program and finance classes. And we always want to be incredibly cautious, though, in terms of not following, not populating the curriculum with a lot of sort of up and coming ideas. We want to teach the students fundamentals. So a Simon way of approaching fintech would be to think about the technology very deeply, think about what value is it's really serving. I come from a macroeconomics background. I think about money and banking a lot. A lot of the kind of the features of fintech is grounded, or should be, quite honestly, and maybe they wouldn't get themselves into so much trouble if it was grounded in the very long and successful, history of money and banking. We want to teach the students the Simon way, which is that very rigorous fundamental knowledge and thinking, critical thinking, combined with the new tools and new environments and new platforms that are coming up. So if there's an opportunity for us to come to Miami and visit or learn from kind of the fintech hub over there, we would welcome that opportunity and combine it with some workshop or some seminars. So please reach out to us. I promise to answer.
Awesome. I'm happy to attend that one as well.
Yeah.
A little bit of a segue on money and banking. Our faculty is focused on money and banking, macroeconomics. There was a question wondering whether or not any of the faculty are involved with the Shadow Open Market Committee.
Not currently, no, but we work, so we have a faculty member at Narayana Kocherlakota who used to be the CEO of the Minneapolis Fed. He's in the economics department with an appointment also in Simon. He contributes a lot. You probably see his writing in Bloomberg and other places as well. And we run the Carnegie Rochester NYU conference on public policy, where there's a lot of monetary policy that's involved. So just to give you a sense of sort of quickly the history of the school, over the kind of the last few decades, the number of people who are actively working in monetary policy in the Simon School has certainly shrunk. But what is really, in terms of policy, is antitrust, which is a big issue. Antitrust not just applied to kind of companies, the sort of the more traditional antitrust, conglomerates and monopolies, but we're also thinking about antitrust in labor, especially when companies are hiring thousands and hundreds of thousands of people, they become a monopoly hirer. Sort of thinking about pricing algorithms, ethics of AI. We're also talking about sort of, regulation. How does regulation affect, fintech regulation or other new financial instruments that are coming up? So it's not as maybe deep and grounded as monetary policy, but now we have this really great variety of anything from healthcare policy to antitrust within the Simon domain. And we're really excited about that.
Mm-hmm. So this has to be the last question, but I probably, have to ask this one, is that, for us folks who are seeing the strategic plan and are excited about it, alumni in particular, we want to donate to making it successful, but are there ways that we could actively participate? And I know there are ways. So what are some of the ways that we can actively participate to make it happen?
Absolutely. I mean, once, I talked about a few things like opening doors, participating in the events, making connections with the students, mentoring students, as well as our corporate engagement also takes on a more of its legs and has more meat on the bones. We're going to do an outreach. We would really like you to also think about the entrepreneurial environment. Simon is not a school where historically we've emphasized entrepreneurship a lot, but when I look at the sort of the amazing alumni that have come out of the school and what impact they've had on businesses and the businesses that they have grown, we would love to be able to feature you. Just you showing our support for our plan and for our students, whether that's both philanthropically on the financial front or with your time and with your talent, will take any of those 3 T's and any time and bandwidth that you have. So watch out for all of the dean's correspondences and correspondence from our alumni engagement office, and continue to participate because you're part of our family. We want to hear from you. We want to engage with you. And Shane Ryan, who's our new alumni director. Hopefully you'll all have a chance to meet him in person. He's a very dynamic individual, so he'll be jumping on calls and phone calls and email to help you navigate that as well. So thank you.
Yeah, it's an exciting time to be an alumni at Simon, and an exciting time to be a student. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you very much for coming.